With me today, I have a brand new 2020 Toyota Tundra TRD PRO. Now for this model year, Toyota listened and added all the things that you guys have been asking for, such as heated seats, which is now very important now that it's snowing out. Also push button start, a new infotainment system, and different cab configurations. So is this the best TRD Pro Tundra ever? And how does it compare to others in its family, such as the Sequoia TRD Pro and the 4Runner TRD Pro? That's what I'm here to find out. So in this review video, learn everything there is to know about this brand new Tundra TRD Pro so you can decide if it is the right truck for you. Stay tuned.
Now first, I want to give a big shout out to Continental Toyota for making this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Toyota, then definitely check out Continental Toyota. Their information is on the screen and also in the description of this video. Starting with the outside, there are many things that make this TRD Pro Tundra stand out from the rest of the trims. Starting with the front, you see that giant black grille with Toyota stamped in the middle. That's a clear giveaway. And if that wasn't enough, take a look at the dual hood scoops. When one isn't enough, go ahead and add another. The headlights are full LED with daytime running lights, and the fog lights are also LED provided by Rigid Industries. Underneath, you have a huge TRD skid plate, and the shocks are TRD Pro Fox shocks with remote reservoirs. Now, moving on to the side, the TRD Pro has all the badges in black and it matches with the black door handles and wheels. Nothing is chrome on the exterior of this truck. Because the cab is Crew Max, look at how massive the rear doors are. The wheels are 18-inch BBS forged aluminum wheels, and the tires are all-season 275/65/18 tires. On the bedside, you see TRD Pro lettering stamped on top. They don't really pop out unless you're paying close attention. Now the backside looks like a regular Tundra with the name stamped on the tailgate. There is a backup camera and a 4x4 badges in black. Of course, you get a hitch receiver and brake controller connector with this Tundra, which can tow up to 9,900 pounds. On both sides, you get TRD tipped exhaust. This is what it sounds like upon startup. The tailgate has a soft open and is pretty light when closing. With the Crew Max cab, the bed is 5.5 feet long. With the double cab, the cab is shorter and the bed extends to 6.5 feet long. The only thing you find in the back is the deck rail system with 4 tie downs. Lastly, one unique feature that only the Tundra trucks have, and that is the ability for the rear windows to slide down completely. Moving on to the second row, the door opens a complete 90 degrees, which means there is a massive amount of space for getting in and out. Inside, the seats are covered in leather and red stitching. Passengers get a pair of vents and only a single 12V outlet. There are no USB ports, but there are enough room for 6 drinks. As for room, there is limo-like room in the second row. The seats are reclined by default, which is a good position, but unfortunately you can't adjust them in any way. There is maybe 18 inches of legroom left, and I'm 5 feet 10 and a good 6 to 8 inches of headroom. The seats are massive, so 3 adults could fit in the back no problem. If you want to fold up the seat, simply pull on the lever and lift up to generate an enormous amount of space underneath. Unfortunately, the floor is not completely flat and there is no hidden storage. Before moving up front, let's talk about the engine. This TRD Pro Tundra still uses the same iForce 5.7 liter V8 that is pushing 381 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 6-speed automatic. I'll let you guys know how this engine is once I start driving. Alright guys, I'm behind the steering wheel, so let me show you the cabin and also the features you'll find in this brand new Tundra TRD Pro. Now, starting with the steering wheel, this looks very familiar, just like the one inside the Sequoia TRD Pro and also the 4Runner TRD Pro, and that's okay. I like this look. It has a truck-like look and it definitely fits in a truck like a Tundra, and I like the thickness. It's a little bit thicker, but I think it's okay. The 10 and 2 spot is definitely thicker. The leather, I would say, I'm not sure if this is leather. It is quite slippery, so I'll let you guys know how this is once I start driving. Now, in terms of the buttons, very simple. This is all for volume and controlling through, scrolling through your stations. This is mute. This is for your phone, right? On this side, this menu and this is all for the gauge cluster and that screen in the middle, and we'll show you that in a little bit. And here's a couple buttons for the safety features that I'll also show you in the gauge cluster. So this is kind of like the default home button. So if you navigate somewhere and you want to just go back quickly rather than use the back button, you could use this. But right now, this is the default. So you could see it's a digital speedometer, miles per hour, and your range. And of course, you do see on the left side your tachometer, speedometer. On the right, those are analog, and you do see some gauges like battery, your fuel, your temperature, and oil pressure. But in the middle here, so if you utilize these buttons, you could scroll up or down. So right now you could see time to rest. It will detect if you're falling asleep. If you go to the side here, here's a compass. This is for audio. This is for some of the safety features, right? And also TPMS. Now over here, messages. And this, in the settings, this is where you can change some of those things. And remember, I talked about some of the safety features you get with Toyota Sense. Well, lane departure assist, pre-collision system, those are included. And then if you go inside vehicle settings, trailer type, you could set that, maintenance reset. So there's a few things that you could set in here that's pretty cool. And then you just scroll through, and if you want to go back, you hit this menu, this button over here, I should say, and it just goes back to the default view. Pretty easy to use, not very complicated at all. Now on the left side, you can see mirror control. This is to control the doors light, dimmer. This is for the light that's in the bed. This is auto high beam if you want to leave that on or off, and this is to control the back window. And then over here, pretty standard, just your windows controls and auto up and down for just the driver and passenger side, not in the back. And back here, this is to control the adaptive cruise control that's radar guided. This is also part of Toyota Safety Sense. So not only do you get pre-collision warning and auto braking, lane keep assist, but you also get adaptive cruise control along with auto high beam. Moving over here, let's take a look. Just this giant dash, right, leading into the infotainment. You know what? A lot of people have said that this looks dated. Of course, I think if you compare this to the brand new interior of a Ram, let's say, which looks like a luxury car, but if you compare this to, say, F-150, like a Raptor, it actually looks pretty good. I like this. I don't think it looks very dated. I like the stitching, as you can see, right? And that actually carries through into the door panels and also the seats. I'm gonna show you that in a little bit. But this is brand new, 8-inch touchscreen. This is the new infotainment system that's in this Tundra TRD Pro for the 2020 model year. What a lot of people are waiting for is Apple Carplay, Android Auto, and those are now standard, as well as Alexa commands too. Those of you guys are used to Amazon Alexa. All right, so on top you got volume, and this is for scrolling, and then you got a couple menus on the side. If you go into menu here, this is where you kind of see the categories: navigation, audio, phone, apps, and so forth. If you go into apps, you will see that this car is equipped with Wi-Fi. So those of you guys that are families or you're working on a job, that's actually really important. If you go back to menu and go into setup, This is where you can configure a whole bunch of things, your Bluetooth, your phone, your audio, voice, a whole bunch of things. Overall, it is a pretty responsive screen. I like it. It's simple. It doesn't have the most modern interface, but it definitely gets the job done, and it's a huge improvement over the last generation. And overall, take a look. There's kind of like brushed aluminum trim that's around the side, right? I actually really dig that. And then on the outside of that, you get more aluminum trim, right? So overall, I don't think that looks very dated. I actually do like this quite a bit. Very truck-like, and I think it belongs. Now underneath here, right, you do see climate controls. These are all physical buttons, so it's nice. Fan control, defrosters, right, the modes, and of course you got two large knobs here. You know, this belongs in a truck, right? If you're wearing gloves, you got large hands, right? This is perfect for it. So you got auto right there, and you can twist to change the climate on both sides, so dual zone. Now over here, this is interesting. I didn't notice it right away, but this is heated seats, 3 layers, 3 stages I should say. If you press it, you could see it comes up on the screen here. Normally with heated seats, it will be some kind of LED lights or something, right? So you just got to pay attention that actually shows up in the screen over there. All right, now moving down, you have 3 USB ports. This is actually for media, but you can use it to charge. And then you have 2 dedicated USB ports, so that's 3 up here, really nice. This is for traction control if you somehow want to turn that off, right? You got a 12V outlet over here. And then you got a bunch of space here to put whatever you want, your phone, a notebook, or something. You got a small little cup holder over there, and then you got 2 large cup holders over here. You got just kind of like this space here. I don't know. It's really shallow, so I don't know what you could put in here that won't fly around, right? And then you move on to the shifter, traditional shifter. You do see the knob say TRD on it, so that's nice. This is a 6-speed. You can manually shift if you wanted to, but there are no paddle shifters in this Tundra. But I do like how you don't have to relearn it. You don't have to relearn the shifting with some kind of buttons or knob or anything. This is pretty easy to understand. This is important. This is the 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive selector. By default, it's 2-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. But if you wanted to put in high, 4-wheel drive high, 4-wheel drive low, you can do that by simply twisting. Over here, engine start-stop, smart key, keyless entry. Those are all new for 2020 model year. You got a tow mode over here, and this is the trailer brake system over there. Now moving on, this armrest is absolutely enormous. You could definitely sit on here if you wanted to, but you do have this space here for your phone. I'm assuming my phone fits in here. TRD Pro, that actually looks pretty nice. And then take a look how big it is in here. I mean, it is massive. You could put probably 10 laptops in here. And I'm not joking, you could probably fit more than 10 laptops in here. It is huge, and you got another 12V outlet over there as well. That's just enormous amount of space. I almost wish that you would just put another seat here, because it's kind of wasted space. It is so big and so massive. All right, now moving on to the seats, TRD Pro seats. Take a look, very sporty, and I do like the stitching here, TRD Pro, and of course the stitching on the side is also in red. So I'll let you guys know if I slip around in these seats, but they do look good, and you know, I like how it matches, the red stitching matches the door panel, and it goes into the dash, right? And the door panel has some contrast. You do see aluminum trim on the bottom, and also the handles are aluminum, and that kind of matches this aluminum piece over here. You do have an SOS button, and then this is to control the sunroof. So this is not a panoramic sunroof, this is just a regular sunroof, but it does let a decent amount of light in, so that's always a plus. On the mirrors, you see that little sign, the mirrors are heated, and part of this infotainment screen, JBL speakers, 12 speakers, subwoofer, amplifier. So I actually listened to the radio before I started filming. It actually sounds really, really good. All right, it's time to go for a drive. Let's see how this brand new Tundra TRD Pro
handles the roads. I don't know if you guys caught the fact that this TRD Pro did not have side steps installed. So it's definitely a challenge to get in here, at least for me. I'm 5'10", and I could barely scoop my butt into the seats. Now, those of you guys on the taller side, definitely not a problem. Those of you guys on the shorter side, you might want to opt for some running boards or side steps so that you could actually get into this beast. Man, can you hear that? That V8 and this TRD exhaust just comes through in the cabin. Man, it just sounds good. This engine, this 5.7 liter iForce engine that's been around forever, and people have been making fun of it, saying it's dated, it's old like a dinosaur. Guess what? It still works, and it works well. Over 380 horsepower, over 400 pound-feet of torque, and it really moves this Tundra. And not only that, it just sounds like a proper V8. Now that the Tundra has heated seats, that's a big win. For those of you guys that live in places that actually snow and gets cold, big win. Now, something that it is still missing though is heated steering wheel. So I'm hoping that gets added in next year's TRD Pro. But I will say heated seats is definitely a mandatory, especially a truck of this price range. Oh, listen to that exhaust. Man, it is so mesmerizing. Now, right away, I could tell that this exhaust is a lot louder than the Sequoia TRD Pro. The Sequoia was really toned down, and I could barely hear it. But in this Tundra, I could definitely hear it. Every time I put my foot down, you could hear that throaty V8, and it just sounds good. Now that I'm up to speed, in terms of quietness, very quiet. Actually, very quiet indeed. So in terms of wind noise, not so much. Road noise, I do hear a little bit from these tires. I do hear that, but overall, it's pretty quiet. Keep in mind, I do have the radio off. Most of you guys will be blasting the radio, so you're really not going to hear anything after that. This is a really commanding view. Full-size trucks are already tall by nature, but this one is definitely up there. I really feel like I'm above everything, and everyone driving their crossover SUVs should just bow down and get out of my way. This is one of the reasons why so many people love trucks, and you definitely get that feeling in here as well. Now, as for the exhaust, I mentioned how good it sounds. I will say though, now that I've driven it a bit longer, anytime you're kind of just coasting, right, and you need to maintain speed and you have your foot down lightly, you go hear a drone from the exhaust constantly. So I could see how after a while that could be a little bit tiresome. So that reminds me a lot like the 4Runner TRD Pro, where the exhaust had a lot of drone. So I could see how over time that could get tiresome. I kind of get that feeling in this Tundra as well, but I didn't get that in the Sequoia, so that's actually a good thing. All right, let's do a U-turn and see how the turning radius is on this Tundra, which I think is going to be very challenging. All right, so I'm purposely going really wide here, and I'm nowhere close to making this. So, yeah, turning radius in here is horrendous. Horrendous. It's actually much worse than even the Sequoia, which is weird because they're based on the same platform and the same length and everything. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, turning radius, not the strong suit for this Tundra. So in terms of visibility, for the most part, it's pretty good with a few caveats. Starting with the front, the windshield is big, but the hood scoops, you know how there's two of them, right? The second one on top sticks out about another inch or so. So it does make it a little bit more difficult to look over the hood. So that's number one. So if there's small children or something up there, you really can't tell. Sides are good. The blind spots are good. But the rear window is also good, but the mirror is really small. the rearview mirror, I mean. So it makes it so that I can't get the whole view of the entire back window. So for the most part, it's pretty good. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Definitely a lot of noise, a lot of exhaust noise, a lot of engine noise, but I got up to about 65 just now, about 30 to 65, pretty quick. This is not a slow truck by any means. No, it's not as fast as a Raptor, but like I said at the beginning, this engine is really good. It's a really good, powerful engine, and this 6-speed that it's mated to does the job. It shifts well, and even when in 6th gear, I mean, I don't feel like the truck is underpowered. A lot of the newer transmissions, I know they're a lot more efficient, a lot fuel efficient, right? The 9-speed, 10 speeds, but you know what? When you're in the higher gears, it just feels like the car or truck is bogged down. I don't get that feeling in here. I love the 6-speed. In the Sequoia TRD Pro, I had that same thought too. All right, now I'm going back on this freeway that has a lot of imperfections, bumps, dips, divots, whatever you call it. There's a lot of it on this. This TRD Pro, tuned suspension is handling the bumps and imperfections really good. I hardly feel it inside. Now keep in mind, this is a truck with a bed in the back, right? Trucks are known for the bed rattles, right? The shakes. I don't really feel that in here. I don't. The suspension is soft. It's meant to be softer to go off-roading with. And what does that translate to? Well, it translates to a pretty smooth ride on road. Now, the steering also is pretty good. There's very, very little play, but it has a nice heft to it. It's not very heavy. You would expect a truck like this to be even heavier. It's not. So it has a good heft to it, and it feels pretty precise because there's not that much play. So overall, I can't complain about the steering.
As for pricing, there are two base prices for the brand new Tundra TRD Pro. And there's two base prices because it depends on which cab you select. For 2020, you can now get a TRD Pro with the double cab or the usual Crew Max. The one I'm reviewing today is the Crew Max. It has a 5.5 foot bed. The double cab gets 6.5 foot bed, but of course the interior size shrinks. Now if you get a double cab, the MSRP starts at $48,505. However, if you select the Crew Max, the price goes up significantly, up to $52,780. So it really depends on what you're looking for. As for colors, the new color for this year is Army Green, and this is available on the Sequoia, the Tacoma, the 4Runner, and of course the Tundra. But if you didn't like Army Green, you could have the white that I'm showing you guys today, which is called Super White. You also have Magnetic Gray Metallic, and finally, you do have Midnight Black Metallic. Those are the color choices. In terms of interior, you're just getting leather and black with red accent stitching. That is it. Next, let's look at the good and bad to this brand new Tundra TRD Pro. Starting with the good, it definitely has a rugged and brawny truck look. It is very comfortable, especially with those TRD shocks. There is limo-like space in both the first row and second row. The new infotainment system is a big upgrade. There is plenty of V8 power, and that TRD sound is mesmerizing. And finally, this Tundra TRD Pro has a good steering feel with a commanding view. As for bad, there are a few. As for the bed, there's no easy way to get in as there are no steps. The second row floor is not completely flat and there is no hidden storage under the seats. The fuel economy isn't the greatest. There is now a $3,000 price hike over the 2019 model. And good luck trying to park in tight parking spots. And finally, when is the heated steering wheel coming? Overall, I'm giving the Tundra TRD Pro a score of 108. And if you want to see how it ranks among its peers, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching this, guys. Make sure you hit the like and hit the subscribe button and check out these other videos.